Well, the left-wing group ACORN has gotten over $30 million in federal funds over the past 10 years, your tax dollars. It or its workers are facing criminal charges in several states, and now it's helping conduct the U.S. Census, going door to door. In the House, as a result, now some Republican lawmakers are making new calls for the Census Bureau to sever all ties with this group. They are asking why this group, facing these criminal charges relating to voter registration fraud, among other things, should be a partner in such an important endeavor. And one of those lawmakers is our guest. He's Congressman Patrick McHenry. He's the ranking member on the House Census Committee. Congressman, good morning to you.
Good morning, Megan.
All right, so when we got this news a couple months back that ACORN was going to partner with the census and going door to door to find out who lives where, what the racial demographic is, and so on and so forth, this is what the census folks do. We were stunned too that a federal organization, that the Census Bureau would agree to partner with a group like ACORN. But then you think, we've already given them $30 million in federal taxpayer dollars. Why is this such a shock? Why is this a problem?
Well, why this is a problem is not only have 19 separate states charged individual employees of ACORN with criminal activity, criminal voter fraud, but the state of Nevada recently, last week, indicted ACORN, the whole organization, not simply members of the organization,
right,
as a criminal enterprise to commit voter fraud. Now, voter fraud functions much in the same way that fraud within the census would occur, because it's simply filling out forms, falsifying forms, and falsifying information.
Yeah,
now,
they make it up as they go along.
Exactly. If they're willing to commit voter fraud, what's the difference in committing census fraud? Both are felonies. Both are certainly punishable under our federal laws and state laws. And ACORN has proven that they're not a trustworthy ally in this, and that's why I've demanded the Census Bureau tell the United States Congress and the public why it is so vitally important to risk the integrity of the census by partnering with a group that is of such a criminal nature as ACORN.
And have you gotten any response to the Census Bureau, either written or in other form?
Well, Megan, you know, this is Washington. It takes a little while to respond, but we expect to hear something back this week, certainly. But look, the whole issue here is that you have a so-called housing advocacy group that has received federal funds, yet at the same time has committed partisan activities for hire, including payments from the Obama campaign by an affiliate of ACORN, while at the same time they've been convicted of felony voter fraud. Now, this certainly raises the question why we'd give the endorsement of the Census Bureau, much less government funds, to a group like this.
You know, we've seen so many examples. Their spokesperson, Scott Levinson, has come on. I've interviewed him personally. Glenn Beck interviewed him a week or so ago. He's acrimonious. We had an insider from ACORN come on our show yesterday and say he is an outright liar, and he is the face of that organization. Indicted in several states now, that ACORN or its workers. You know, Congressman, at what point do you get the Democrats in the House on board with these plans? Because Michelle Bachmann, a congresswoman, just tried to push a bill that would prevent a group like ACORN, anybody who's facing indictment on federal charges like these, from receiving taxpayer money, and the Democrats shot it down. They either don't believe these charges about ACORN or they don't care. Which is it?
Well, I don't think they care, because they're a partisan political organization for liberal causes. Now, they say they're a housing advocacy group, and that's the way they get federal funds, but at the same time, they're using other funds, so they say, even though funds are fungible, to commit these partisan activities and voter fraud. Now, what you've also seen is a few Democrats slip up and say that they're willing to investigate, including the chairman of the Judiciary Committee, a rather liberal partisan, John Conyers, said just 3 weeks ago that he's willing to look into this conspiracy, this criminal voter fraud
and
activity,
then what happened?
Of ACORN.
And
well,
then what happened after Conyers said, let's investigate ACORN at a federal level, because this is getting ridiculous. This is a Democrat. What happened?
Nothing, because all the liberal groups crawled all over him and told him to keep his mouth shut. And in the end, he had committee Democrats, Judiciary Committee Democrats, that did the same. And so he's been quiet ever since, even though he made the commitment in a public hearing that he's willing to look at ACORN's activities and have a hearing about it.
Why shouldn't the American public sitting at home watching this be outraged? Democrats and Republicans alike, who want the census to be conducted in a rational and legitimate manner, who want to help the underprivileged find mortgages where it's appropriate, but want a legitimate group advocating on their behalf. You've got the ACORN 8 insiders who are on the board coming out and saying this organization is corrupt. You've got more individuals from other areas of ACORN coming out and saying it is corrupt, that a select group of people have overtaken it for their own personal causes. At what point does somebody else in Congress step in and say, this has got to stop?
Well, look, this is the outrage of the American people right now. Megan, this is just another example of Washington out of control, that reality is suspended when you get inside the Beltway. This is the outrage that the American people have. That's why you had all these people going out to tea parties. That's why you have the American people screaming about all these different issues. And that's why some of us in Congress are willing to stand up and fight against this liberal lunacy that is being committed right now. The fact is that ACORN is so in bed with liberal causes and assisted Barack Obama in voter registration efforts during the primaries.
That's clear.
That they don't want to look at their own group.
You know,
That's right.
The Republicans in the House can't control what hearings are going to happen or which hearings aren't going to happen, but you can demand a response from the Census Bureau. And when you get it, sir, in response to this demand, we hope you'll come back on and tell us what they said.
And I hope your viewers will write their congressmen and write their senators and say enough is enough. It's time that we stand up to these crazy groups that are getting federal funds and committing voter fraud, and we stand up to the Census Bureau and demand they tell us why ACORN is so very important that we have to risk the integrity of the census, our data collection for this nation, constitutionally mandated, for a group like this. It's outrageous. You're exactly right, Megan.
Congressman Patrick McHenry, thanks for coming on with your views on it. We appreciate it.
Thank you, Megan.